What is up, App Nation? Welcome to another YouTube Live. Thank you guys so much for showing up week in and week out. I've been enjoying doing these. It's been really therapy for me because we're quarantined. There's no social life. And so this is my social life, unfortunately. But today we've got a phenomenal guest. He is a friend of mine, and he's going to talk all about really understanding your KPIs, your metrics for mobile growth and acquisition. So without further ado, he is the CEO and co-founder of Pollen VC. If you're looking for a platform where you're making money and you want to reinvest the revenues that you're making from the different app stores to reinvest in mobile growth, they're going to help you do that. So without further ado, Martin McMillan, welcome to the YouTube Live.
Thank you very much, Steve. Really great to be here. It's the first time I've done this, so a bit novel for me as well, but hopefully my internet connection holds up and we can take you through some of the stuff we've been building.
Yeah. So I want to say some hi to some people. Leandro, what's happening, man? Thank you guys for showing up. Nikhil, how are you doing? Max, we've got your app on the docket. So before Martin goes into some of the things that he wants to share, Max, we've got your app here. We've got this app as well. And then this last one, Nikhil, yeah, I saw you on here. We're going to take a look. And Nikhil, I think I've got some really good feedback. If you didn't watch last week's YouTube live stream, this is a very similar app to Rudy's. So we'll have some good feedback for you as well. All right, Martin, you've got some tools that you want to show us as well.
Cool. Yeah, maybe I'll just give everyone a little bit of an intro and back up to what we are, you know, who we are, what we do, and then go into why we built some of the tools here. So, so Steve said we provide credit lines, we provide credit facilities to app and game developers in order to fuel their user acquisition. So basically, as everyone knows, you've got the platform delays both from the ad networks as well as the app stores. And what we do is we suck in the sales data every day, and we give you a line of credit that allows you to draw down against these sales that you have made or ad impressions you've made, but not yet been paid for. So the primary reason to do this is that you've figured out an ROI positive formula for user acquisition, and then which is nothing more than an investment equation, right? So if you say, hey, I put $1 into UA and I get $1.50 out in say 90 days or 120 days or whatever it may be, it's just a question of basically how, you know, and you can do this with some kind of predictability. The question is really like, once I've figured out I've got this investment equation that works, where can I find capital to put into that equation? So you may have credit lines from ad networks, you may have a bunch of cash sitting in the bank, but you also have these this asset which we call your AR, your accounts receivable, which is all the revenues you've made but you've not been paid for. So the way we work is we give you a simple line of credit above that, and it to the extent of that, and it enables you to take this cash and then to roll it back into user acquisition if indeed you are you're acquiring profitably. And that's it's a way more capital efficient way to grow using a debt product than raising equity and diluting your equity and stuff into doing that. So the big issue here then is like, how do I know if my acquisition is positive? Now, if you're a 50-person gaming studio and you have a whole team of BI guys sitting there modeling your lifetime values and your cash flows and all the rest of it, then you know it's fine. That's what they're there to do. And what we found is some of the earlier companies that we worked with, some of the founder-led companies, there wasn't necessarily like a really deep business and analytics function in place. There wasn't a there wasn't like a fully baked finance function as well, and a lot of people were having some difficulty making sense of these metrics. So what we decided to do is to build a tool. So we actually had one. We did it a couple of years ago, the first pass of it, and we just released a couple of weeks ago the next pass. We basically took we had more than 10,000 people use this. Shoving in metrics and trying to figure out scenarios based on those metrics. And what we did is we just rolled up all of the learnings from version 1 and then launched this as version 2. So I'm gonna share my screen here. So hopefully everyone can see that. Steve, is that coming through okay?
Yes, we see it.
Great. Okay, so this is the landing page, and maybe we can, I don't know, Steve, if you can share the URL, or maybe I can.
Yeah, it's all linked up into the show.
Cool. Okay, fine. So what we'll do then is, I'm just gonna begin. I'm just gonna take you through through a set of scenarios, right? So the first page I'm actually going to look at is LTV and ROAS. So basically, ROAS is the point that what you're looking for. 100% ROAS is basically, when do I break even on my ad spend? And the shorter the break even period, the better. Because it means you can do stuff faster. So basically, you may have at one end, you might have a hyper casual game who's got a really short break even, a 2, 3, 5 day break even period on the UA spend. And then at the other end, you may have a social casino which takes you a year to break even, and then you'll make your LTV in year 2. So the first thing we want to look at is basically like, for a dollar invested, what day do we break even? So two things here. There's LTV and ROAS. Now, we have some dummy data in here to start, but the key thing and what we want to have people doing is getting to the point that they can use their own, they can plug in their own metrics. And we've deliberately, it was hard to get this right in terms of where we pitched it. We didn't want to make it too high level. We didn't want to make it like super granular. It's just intended to not be a replacement for your BI team, but just a headline, like a traffic light signal in terms of, based on these figures, what does my acquisition look like? So you start off here with just retention curves. So super important. You can pull this out of any of the analytics packages you're looking at. So the 3 things we care about: one is retention. Second is ARPDAU, so average revenue per daily active user. And then the third is like a base CPI, base acquisition cost. Whatever the CPA, CPI, whatever the metric is you're using, it's just to anchor basically what the acquisition cost looks like. There's a few other things that you can put in here. And again, we've got some default values, the organic uplift. So for every paid user you acquire, how many free users are you likely to acquire on the back of that? Because maybe Bob sees a Facebook ad and he downloads he downloads my game, then he tells his friend about it, and then his friend downloads it as well. So what kind of organic factors? So this is, we've assumed something like 25%. This is all like totally configurable. And then also the initial budget, right? So you have to have some marketing spend up front to put into it. And in order to kind of get the party started. There's a few other things: fixed costs and reinvest percentage here. So fixed costs, if you had like the cost of paying salaries or running a studio or something, reinvest percentage, and again, it's just basically trying to take a sensible percentage of the revenue and then reinvest that back in. And then here you've got monetization types. So you've got and the reason this is important is because of the cash payout delays. So you have, if you're doing IAPs on the App Store, it's going to take longer to uncover the cash than it is on Google Play. Then you've got various different, ad networks. So Net21 would be the ad network's going to pay you 3 weeks after the end of the month. Then you've got Net30, Net60, etc. And everyone's kind of different in that regard. So what we're gonna look at here is just basically just for a simple break-even analysis. And the really key thing here is, if I look at if I change my acquisition cost from $1.20 to $1 and I redraw the graph, I'm breaking even day 9. If I change my retention from 20 to say 16% and redraw the graphs, that's going to pull it back as well. So the idea is these are going to redraw every time you do it. If I drop my ARP down, say it's 25 cents instead, then again it's going to impact. So that's going to take my that's going to take my my ROAS recovery the day I break even on the ad spend to day 20. So the whole idea is to show you this really important point of when you break even on the ad spend, and then secondly, what does that journey go on to be? So what is my, I'm focused on ROAS, but I'm also the other end of the the other bookend that I care about is basically my LTV, my lifetime value, what I can expect when I analyze a cohort of of users. What can I expect in aggregate for them to spend over a period of time? So this really is saying, okay, I'm going to invest $1 in acquisition. I'm going to break even on my ad spend in 20 days. That's when I'm going to get my dollar back. And then I'm going to get roughly $1.81 after 102 days. And that is, that's my LTV. So that's basically, I'm going to turn $1 into $1.81 in 102 days, and that's really nothing more than an investment equation. And so what we're going to look at now is what I can, once I've figured out that investment equation, what does that mean? And so the primary question you're trying to get to is like, do I have positive economics? If I put $1 into UA, am I going to yield a positive outcome? Do I get more than $1 or less than $1? And save for complicating with organic and virality and stuff. Basically, if you put $1 into UA, you get more than $1 out. It's a great result. It's just a case of what those numbers look like over time. If you put $1 UA into UA and you get 90 or 80 cents out, it's just bad business, and you're just setting out to lose money. So it's really a kind of binary thing. You've either got positive economics or not. And what we're going to look at is basically some scenarios and I accept it's a big assumption, right? This is, most people struggle to get their economics positive, but on the basis that they can, then what we're going to look at is some analysis of the importance of the cash flows behind it. And this is something that people, often just gloss over. They're focused on the P&L metric, which is the actual number on the screen, and they're not thinking about, well, okay, when do I actually get the cash for this, and how does that affect my business and reinvestment cycle? So I'm going to go onto this cash flows tab now.
Hey, Martin, if I can interrupt real quick.
Sure.
When you're thinking about the cohorts, is there a minimum number of installs that we should be aiming for to get those numbers that we want to input into the tool?
Great question. I mean, it's a kind of chicken and egg. You don't want to go off with something that's like, hey, I got 50 users and this is what they did. Ideally you want to be 500, at least 1,000 users. So you've got and it's maybe just in one geo or whatever it may be. So you've got the ability to say, like on small numbers, the propensity to get it really wrong is huge. So the greater the sample size you can afford, the better the starting point for this. So on this page here, and again, these numbers are kind of static. You can go in and change them as often as you need and see what changes to get the different results. But basically, you're looking at two different lines. So I'm going to look at the red line first. And what the red line is doing is it's basically saying, given those economics or given these metrics that you've given us, and layering on top of it what we know about the platform, in this case, the App Store, whatever that you're on, what we're going to do is just model the actual cash flow, not the P&L, but when the cash and when it actually catches up. So what you're going to see is right now you take your marketing budget and you're spending it over I think we assumed a 60-day period. And so your cash goes negative. You're spending money on a daily basis. And then at day 67, whatever it may be, you're going to get your first payments in from the platform, and then you're going to continue to spend. So what happens is it works on the basis you're continually reinvesting, but you're basically your cash negative for, in this case, like 100 and something days, and then gradually you get cash positive over time. And it's just assuming this constant reinvestment rate. Now, the top line illustrates how the cash position works if you are leveraging this through an AR facility, like the kind of credit facilities that Pollen VC provides. And what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, for all the revenue I'm making, I can take this out and I can reinvest it back into another cohort because I know this is going to pay. And all you're doing is then it's a question of how quickly can you just double down. So that every time you're investing $1, it's going to yield you a dollar something revenue. So the question should be, how quickly can you reinvest? A sort of offline example is basically it's the slot machine example. So if you go into the kind of the casino in Las Vegas, whatever, and you find a machine that every time you put $1 in, it pays you $2 out. Question is, do you wait 30 days before you go back to that same machine and run it again? No, you want to do it as quickly as you can and shovel it in until, of course, that machine stops paying out. And in which case you walk away and you go somewhere else. So that's really the analogy here. It's just like when something works, every day it's costing you money if you're not doing this. So our model here is that we're lending money to app developers, and all of this money is going back into user acquisition as well. pretty much. Not in every case, but I mean, some of it's used as working capital, but most of it gets reinvested into a positive UA equation. So this is really, really important stuff to look at, and things can really move the needle as well. So one thing that we always advocate on is be really careful about your longer dated retention. Because if you get these numbers out by 1 or 2 or a fraction of a percent, you can really skew the numbers. So if I go from 0 retention D180 and I just put in a 2% number there, look at what changes. And actually, one of the key things is the axis change. The numbers just go wild. The trend of the cash doesn't. But if you and we'd encourage people to go and play with these and run different scenarios and so on. For themselves. So one of the real important things is don't overestimate retention, particularly longer data retention. Just work on the data you have and be very sanguine about extrapolating it out for beyond 90 days if you like. If you've got 90 days of data, great, you know roughly where you get to, but be really careful about the long dated scenarios. So another tab here I'm going to look at.
Martin, I'm going to interrupt real quick too. Yeah. We got some questions coming in, so it might be a good time before you go into the next tab. It's Andy says, "Hi Steve, immensely enjoying everything you do. Thanks, Andy. What's the standard time frame to get revenues back from ad sales and user purchases? 30, 60, 90 days? And is it different from Apple Store versus Google?"
Yeah, so on Apple, if you're monetizing through IAPs, you can be waiting for up to 67 days. So that's the longest period of time that from the day 1 of the fiscal cycle you make a sale to when they actually pay you. Could be up to mid-60s days. With Google, they pay you typically 15 days from the end of the month. So it's also known as net 15 in the industry. So basically what you have is if you think about it, it's the 1st of January, you're going to get paid on the 15th of February. So if you assume a midpoint in the month, because what you need to think about is your average payable days. So you assume the midpoint in January, so the 15th of January to the 15th of February, you would think, okay, I've got average payable days of 30. It could be as long as 45. It could be as short as 15. So 30 is the number in the middle. With the ad networks, again, Google, I think, is one of the fastest payers. It's around about 15 days from the end of the month for AdMob. You've got Facebook Audience Network, which is just a few days behind it. And then you've got, Iron Source and Unity ads and so on as well. And some of these can be much longer dated in terms of the in terms of when they actually pay. But it's a great question because it's really critical. So many people, if they're just focused just on the performance metrics and the P&L metrics, and they're not thinking through the finances as well, they're really missing a trick. And one of the things we always advocate for is finance guys and UA guys being absolutely joined at the hip, because their role together is so important to figure out what's best for the business.
And Andy also has another question about what is the interest rate of the line of credit that you're talking about?
So for our own for our own kind of facilities, it's a sliding scale, and we charge. We're in the US, we're a regulated California lender. We charge on a straight interest rate basis. So we don't have we charge to start with up to $250K a month, 1.95% per month. And then basically, as the numbers go up, if you get to $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, then the financing rate actually comes down over time. And the thing to do is to basically figure out whether it makes sense or not. Is basically you've got to compare everything on the same basis. So an apples with apples comparison, which is basically saying, let's say I turn $1 into $1.60 in LTV in 90 days. I'm looking at a 20% monthly return. I turn $1 into $1.20, $1.40, $1.60, so 20% month on month. Now, if I'm paying, keep the number simple, if I pay 2% to make 20, my profit on that trade is 18. So it's great. Now, if the difference is I don't have the dollar to put in the first place, so I have to go borrow it, you factor in the cost of capital. So it's how much in, how much out. And that's going to tell you whether it's an effective way to run your business. So what we always shoot for is If the financing cost is much more than a rounding error, then you probably shouldn't be doing it because you may screw up your other metrics, right? But on the basis that if you've got short break-even periods, you've got high monthly ROIs, it's a very, very effective way to finance. Haha. I'm an ex banker turned app developer, Andy. If it's any any help. So minimal line of credit for us. We have to have the economics really don't make sense below about 25K a month in revenue. But we have we have a capability of taking people on anything from 25K into multiple millions of dollars per month, and there's a sliding scale on the financing.
I have to unmute myself. All right, this is a great question from HDM. Hi, Steve. While generating revenue, how can you properly distribute your revenue between ad spend, putting it back into development, or paying employees? What are your thoughts on this, Martin?
Definitely pay your employees first. If you go and blow their salaries in Facebook ads and it doesn't work out, then you're not going to be very popular. We would say it's really a stack. So first of all, you try and estimate your fixed cost of running the studio, and that's whether it's $5 grand, 25 grand, 200 grand, whatever the number is. Just figure out what's the monthly. Now, in terms of that's got to come off that that's just the fixed burn rate. Now, where it gets a little bit more tricky is in putting it back into development or into ad spend. Let's park the development for a second, because there's a few different ways to look at it. So what we see a lot of people do is that, let's say we have a studio running cost of 40 grand a month. So I need 40 grand a month just to pay the bills. But I know my UA is working. So what I want to do is I want to breathe in every spare dollar of capital I can get and put it into UA. So beyond beyond the studio running costs, I need to just I want to reinvest every single cent back in, because I know that's gonna give me a positive return. So that would be the sort of the economically rational way of looking at this. Now, in terms of development, consider scenarios like a gaming company. You've got 25 levels in your game. Your UA is going gangbusters, all great. Very quickly, people are going to run out of content. And so they're going to get bored very quickly. They're going to stop. Your retention is going to fall off, etc. So at that stage, then you kind of need to take a call in terms of, where do I move the levers between reinvesting into product development, and it could be you could even do some unit economics of localize for a country, or per 5 levels in a game, whatever we think it's going to extend retention by this or that, and you can calculate it. So that's a much more subjective one, but really, I think number one is taking care of your fixed costs, and then 2, once you have whatever product development you need to continue the pace of the business, then every spare cent that that you can reinvest into ROI positive acquisition, if you don't invest that, you're leaving money on the table. Now, there may be reasons why you want to do that. You want to build up a cash buffer, etc. But that's the sort of the economic theory behind it.
I like it. Okay. I see some questions from Vignac, so we're going to get to that. We're also going to get to questions from David too, but I wanted to cover that. You want to get back into some of that revenue stuff that you're showing?
Yeah. So what I'll do is just is go back here, and these are just different tabs. We go from cash flows, the construction of the numbers, etc., and then revenue here. So what we're looking at is basically is, what do my revenues look like on an overall basis if I'm leveraging with AR or not? And like the whole point of this is not some necessarily big sales pitch. It's just an education piece. Like, figure out, use the tool, play with the numbers, and then you'll see, once your economics are positive, how much money you're leaving on the table by not doing this, right? So if so we're talking about 161% increase just by taking the capital, reinvesting it on a cumulative basis. But you can also model daily numbers and so on as well. So this little kink here is basically where you've exhausted that kind of budget, but this is reinvest, and it's mapped out to the to the exact timescale. So you're looking at by day 360 a 150% increase on a daily basis of what you would have been if you were waiting to get paid before reinvesting. So it's really helpful, I think, hopefully, to visualize some of these things. I'm going to flip across to installs as well. So again, we've got, this is what daily installs would look like based on the numbers, and this is what, again, more cumulative installs is going to look like. So, maybe you care about, or maybe your investor cares about, because it's more of a kind of vanity metric. Say, I've got 500,000 users of my app, or I've got 1 million downloads, or 10 million downloads, or whatever it may be. So this just helps you kind of forecast, some of this out, and what it could look like. And actually, just worth noting below here at the bottom right, they've some of these charts we've made downloadable as well, because what we found was that we saw a bunch of people using these charts as as screenshots in their investor decks. So quite often, we have pretty good relationship with most of the VCs, and sometimes they were saying, hey, you're these guys are using your calculator and they're just taking screenshots of the projection. So we decided to say, look, why don't we just make it easy and give you a nicely formatted downloadable version instead. So that's where we get to with installs. We're doing some work on retention just now. We've got another data source we're plugging in, but a more granular data source. But this is the idea of like, where am I versus the benchmark? Now, right now we only have a few different benchmarks here. The idea is, in particularly in gaming, we want to go much deeper in terms of granularity. And so it's really cool. It's just a high level things like, where am I versus my my competitors in aggregate. The last one we're going to look at is basically ad spend, and this basically it shows you what the cumulative amount that you'd be spending on ads, and from a monthly basis as well. And some of the inquiries we had and people wanting to use this was basically guys running agencies, let's say, or calculating what the potential incremental ad spend was. So you'd have like marketing agencies go back to their customers and say, look, if you were spending this much more, you would be able to do this, and then we can connect you with a source of capital to provide it. So ad spend's an interesting one, but the one that gets everyone every time is this: it's cash flow. It's just there in black and white. There is no, it's a mathematical formula, right? So there's no AI, there's no rocket science, there's no we think it's this. It's just maths, right? Now, the massive caveat here is this assumes that all of these metrics stay totally static, which is of course never going to happen. But if it were, and that were to be the straight line, then these would be these would be the numbers that get spit out of it. So I think the key thing we'd always advocate for is just stay super on top of the numbers. Look at everything on a cohort level. Stop spending if you don't think it's going to return. And just stay super focused. And the more granular you can be on your own numbers, and we've done some stuff on the on the blog, giving you kind of user acquisition templates, just as a Google Doc of things to track and how to think about it. Yeah. The more kind of granular you can be on the numbers, the more certain you are that the UA spend is delivering for you. That gives you confidence to spend and to borrow the money to spend because it's working from it. If it's just a hunch, or you're looking at something in super aggregated, very high level, hey, it's like, well, I spent $1,000 this month and I made $1,500 so I'm just going to keep doing it. You may be lucky, you may have just missed something, but so the more granular you can go into it, the better. And then the whole point of building these tools is so people can get value from it. They can just use them. They're totally free. We don't track data, anything from it. We just want basically to educate people around capital efficiency. And then once you've got this formula that you think you can scale, then you go figure out, okay, what are my financing options available to do it, and what's the right choice for my company.
Hey, Martin, just out of curiosity, can we use these tools if we're not running any, let's say we're getting a lot of our traffic from organics, if we're not running the case study, just thinking about last week we did, where Rudy went from like 50 downloads a day to 200, and he hasn't done any paid acquisition, but he wants to start thinking about paid acquisition. Can we use these tools if we're getting mostly downloads from organics?
Yeah, I mean, like you look at the, you can still plug in the retention metrics and so on, and say, so I've got a CPI of 0, and here's the numbers I'm getting from it, and then you could basically you could figure out and say, okay, what and like the intent behind organics can be different, right? So you need to, there's a big caveat around paid versus people who are actually searching. So it's the push versus pull, right? There's something I go actually looking for. Maybe I start Googling it or whatever, and I find I'm looking for a water counter to show me how much water I've had by the end of the day or something like that. So it's something that's intense, and I go looking for it, and therefore when I find it, I'm more likely to spend in it. Whereas if I'm just idly browsing through my Facebook feed and something finds me, great. It knows lots about me. It may know that I'd be looking for it, but it's more of a kind of, it's more of a push mechanism on me rather than a pull. So with that sort of caveat, then yeah, I mean, once you're able to model the metrics, look at the retention, look at how much you're actually paying, that's going to help you inform what you could actually be paying. And maybe that supports a 20-cent install cost or a 50-cent or whatever it may be. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to try some numbers basically and try and figure out what my break-evens are and at what point the economics stop working for me.
Love it. All right. Want to say hi to Jared. Thanks for showing up. I'll continue to do these things as long as you guys keep showing up. Chetan, thank you for being here. I think Vinyak, I want to get to his question. Is a landing page necessary for an app, or is it not better to just directly promote my app after launch instead of investing money in promoting a landing page? Now I can start, Martin, and I love your thoughts. I don't think a landing page is that important. I know a lot of app developers who just point to a Facebook page or all that stuff, unless there's an SEO play. And then Vinyak says this is a smart alarm clock. So I don't think that's even necessary at all. I think what I would recommend, and this is what we're doing with our apps, is just putting it into pre-order. So if you're about 50% way, I believe, though, don't quote me on this, but make sure you do some research. I believe you can be in pre-order up to 90 days. And during the development process, you can continually update the builds. And the cool thing about pre-order is people can find your app and then they can say, hey, I want to download this. And they can hit pre-order. And so when you actually launch it, it will count as a download. It'll automatically download to their phone if they have automatic downloads like put as a setting. But that's what I would recommend, is putting the app into pre-order rather than investing in the landing page. You want to add on anything, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say most of the stuff that we see has a website or a landing page, whatever. I mean, given the cost of these things, they're so low cost, and plus you can track. If you do get any traffic, and then people you track the link through from the landing page to the app store, you can kind of factor that in as well. So I think for the for the investment in it, you can do a landing page in Wix in 20 minutes or something like that. It's probably worth the investment. There's somehow it makes you look a little bit more credible as a company and stuff as well if there's an actual page for it rather than the Facebook page. Not essential, but if it's given the investment, I'd say it's probably worth it. And
then Chetan asks, what tool is best for monitoring downloads and revenue? Chetan, if it's for your own app, which in the comments you said it is for your own app, I think App Annie is the best. It can give you all the figures, all the downloads, all the revenues. You can connect it to a lot of different ad networks, including the app stores. If you're looking at competitors, I always recommend looking at Sensor Tower. They'll give you a rough estimate of the previous month of a competitor, previous month downloads and revenue for your competitors. And I know there's some other tools out there as well, but those are the two tools I would recommend, especially for your app. App Annie is probably the best one. All right, cool. I didn't know. All right, Mark.
I mind having your data shared at the back of it, but yeah, yes. it's a helpful service for sure.
Cool. So let's get into the fun part. I know Max is here to look at his app. So Max says the Kholab Effect. He's been working on this for over 3 years. He's had a handful of marketing teams. Nothing's really worked. What this app allows you to do, it's a social media app for people to collaborate with friends and creators. Creators can make money by setting a price for fans to do a two-way live stream with them. Fans can donate. So we've seen something similar to this. And then we'll take a look at this app. And Martin, you can jump in anytime you want. But when I'm looking at the App Store presence, Max, you're not utilizing the subtitle at all. So from an ASO perspective, definitely have some subtitle. It's a little bit hard for social media networks. Not a lot of people, the branded terms are going to be more popular than, let's say, somebody searching for social media apps. So obviously, and this is what we've seen for dating too. There's way more searches for Tinder, Bumble versus just dating, for example. But The thing is, this is not benefit oriented, these screenshots. Find people that love what you do. Okay. Record videos with friends. This isn't, the screenshots don't really represent what you told me in when you filled out the form. And so if you guys, this is the app audit. So if you guys want your app audited, go to appmasters.com/audit. But that's what I would recommend. Is I have no idea, judging from the screenshots, what I can do within your app. All right. Anything you want to add, Martin, or we can go and move into the app itself?
No, I think like the space is an interesting one, and you've got these curated layers of interest groups and so on, and the editing stuff is cool and so on as well. But yeah, I agree. I'm none the wiser. I mean, like, names are always not the be all and end all, but I think I mean, if I looked at Bumble, I wouldn't know what it did, but it then would say, dating for whoever, it's whatever. So I think you're missing a trick, definitely not using the subtitle. And if there's stuff you can do to give, we always like thinking, when you look at the screenshots and ideally videos, spend a little bit of money trying to really think through it. There's as much context as you can give people in these things, way better, because Steve, like if you scroll down and you have to start reading what it is and what it does and for who in the description, and you have your aha moment, you're going to have lost 90% of the people by the time they start actually reading the description, I'd have thought.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the app itself, Max, and you get some brutal feedback right off the bat. So here it is. The Kholab Effect. That's how you say it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, what? All right, is this showing up properly? You guys, it looks like this is stuck. You're not seeing this move, right, Martin? You're just seeing my home screen?
I just see the static screen.
Yeah. All right. Shoot. Okay, let me try this again. Let's see. This shows up properly. Technical difficulties. And then, all right, cool, perfect. So here's what I see. Again, I see this all the time. It's a huge mistake. If you're asking me to send push notifications right off the bat without telling me why, I'm always going to say don't allow. So again, there's other apps out there that I've audited that do a proper job of asking for the right things at the right time. You're asking for a lot of access without me really knowing why. And when I first opened the app, remind me again what your app does, instead of just asking me for all these things. Because for the most part, I'm going to say don't allow. So you're asking me for all this stuff, asking a nice little onboarding screen where it says, Collab Effect allows creators to earn money from their fans by engaging with them. Can I access your photos, show more photos to get better engagement, push notifications, tell your fans when you're going live, or know when your fan has requested you, boom, when you want to allow. So get a double opt-in as you're asking for everything, because once I hit no, it is so much harder for you to show that pop-up again, because I have to go in the settings and all that stuff. So give me a reason, double opt-in, say allow photos. I hit allow, and then the default pop-up happens. So here, let's go into the app or username, sign up. All right, so no login and so forth with the sign up. I'll go ahead and sign up, but any feedback on your end, Martin?
I would echo that. You just asked me for a lot of data without really making it clear what I'm going to get back and what you're going to do with it. I think it's the other thing. I'm super nervous about just granting access to contacts and apps and all the rest of it, unless I've got contacts and photos and stuff, unless I've got a really clear idea of what you're going to do with it. So I think the other thing on the onboarding as well is, like, again, if I'm faced with a full-on onboarding screen, it makes it like, do I really want to go through and usernames, passwords, and all the rest of it all in one go? Or is there a way of just getting what you need at the right time, so it's a less daunting onboarding process? But by the time maybe you get to like the real value from it, then you're so invested in it because you've given the 4 or 5 bits of data or whatever, then you're happy to just see it through.
So I don't like this either, but when I try to sign up, look, I've already entered in all this information, but it's asking for a photo, video, or a photo too. So it's very annoying, but I will do this real quick. There you go, Max. All right. Let's see. And here's how I feel too, Martin. Sometimes like developers spend so much time more on the growth side of things a lot of times, like downloads, how do I get more downloads, and not enough on fixing the product, right? And we did the case study last week and we fixed a couple of things and we were able to drive way more revenue. The developer, Rudy, went from $1 a day to 17, now $23 a day by fixing the product. We didn't add any more revenue. And so sometimes you focus so much on the downloads, but not fixing the product. And there's a lot of product errors that we're going through, Max. So I have no idea where the verification code was sent. It wasn't text message, obviously through email. A lot of hurdles. I'm going to stop here because I think there's a lot of things you can fix right off the bat before I can even continue. It's just, you're going to lose me right off the bat before I even got to this step. So I think there's a lot of things you can fix here before I even go to this. And I have to check my email and give you verification. It's just too much for me to go through right now, for me to want to invest more time. And you didn't even tell me what the app was before. Like, what are the benefits when I first downloaded it? Because I could have forgotten about it. But right now, I'm out. Like, I'm trying to be a real user for you. I'm out already. I've already given you a lot of information, and yet you're asking for more. I get it that you need it to verify it, but maybe you can ask again. Like, maybe you can lock certain features until I verify, so I can see a little bit about the app too.
I think there's so many good examples of onboarding experiences. Then, what we've seen people do is to go through and just build like mood boards of people who you think do stuff well. And you can kind of leverage some of the best practice in a way that makes sense for your app. So there's it's not the Wild West of 2008 App Store, onboarding experiences. That people have done some really good stuff, and there's a lot of learnings you can lean into in a fairly easy way. So I think it's really worth investing the time in that. And then also just like running it past, just have okay, maybe not on YouTube streams, but have friends look at it and use it, and do the parent test as well. Can they understand it as well? So just seek lots of feedback on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it where the verification code is too while we're talking. See if I can find it. Yeah, here it goes. Okay, 561. Let's try it. 561-634. Okay, let's submit it. I know I'm not sharing my screen right now, but I wanted to kind of get a sense. Since Max is here, all right, select genre, geek, on business, I guess. And then, all right, yeah, again, pretty confusing what I'm supposed to be doing. So think about what you want me to do as a creator right now. It's a little bit confusing, this tutorial. Yeah. All right, Max, I think there's a lot more issues within the app. That's it. I think what I would say is, rather than giving this tutorial, it's too much information all at once. I gave you a lot of information. Now you're giving me a lot of information. Just think about what you want the creator to do, whether it's watch a couple of different videos or start recording and going live with it. All right, we've got about 15 minutes left before I got to jump. So let's go into the next thing, the next app from Mohammed. And this is Magnet World. So pretty decent reviews, 4.6 with 33. Not sure what the app does, just based on the screenshots, but Magnet World by Magnetic Balls. Many categories to choose from. Amazing, vibrant. I'm not sure what the app does. And I think that's what you guys want to do. I get it that sometimes maybe you're running ads, and so you've already done a good job of telling people what the app is about. But if you're trying to do ASO and try to get free organics, like at least tell the users what the app is a little bit about too. Because right now you just said you need help with ASO. I have no idea what the app does. I don't even know how to give you help other than read this really long thing, work your way through. It's like brain teaser. Okay. I don't know.
I think screaming out for a video as well there. We solve a lot of problems. Once you get people to the page, then you have a 15-second looping video, and you're going to be able to get everything across.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the app. So I guess from an ASO standpoint, think about the words. It looks like it's a brain teaser type of app. Create magnet. Maybe it feels like Legos. I can create it with the screenshots. Super important, but you know, I feel like the graphics are very 1990s type of thing. Like this is something I made with front page or some Giphy stuff. Fortunately, the many categories to choose from. I don't even know what the app does, Mohammed. So talk about that first and foremost. What is the app? What is the unique selling point? What can I get out of it? I mean, there's a reason why, let's say, for example, AdWords, people search for, I don't know, meditation app, and then you have meditation app bolded. So when you're thinking about ASO, think about the words that people are going to be using to search for your app, whether it's a brain teaser or a puzzle, something like that, and put it in your screenshot. Like that should be your first one. It tells you exactly what the app does. Did another case study from a friend of mine who did crosswords, and he just put daily crosswords. That was his #1 screenshot. Then #2 was like some of the benefits, like new content every day and so forth. And so think about that too as you're thinking about keywords, because keywords are important, but also like converting these people, getting them to understand it and download your app, equally important. All right, let's take a look at this app. All right, Max, let's go into it. Maybe we'll get a better sense of what the app does, Martin. Made with Unity. Okay. Cool graphic here. All right, let's go into tutorial. All right, and just a sketch. I wonder if it's his own like spin on a Rubik's Cube or something. But let's just try to play it. Okay. So again, I think I have no idea what to do, Mohammed. So you want to tell me you kind of gave me the tutorial, but I have no idea how to play this thing. So again, with the growth side of things, I feel like there's just, and I see this time and time again, sometimes it's the product that's the issue, not the growth. So really focus on the product. That's why I wanted to do the case study last week, because we didn't focus so much on the growth and we're able to fix the product a lot and get more revenues. So again, I'm going to exit because I have no idea what to do within the app and your tutorials. And you're showing me a lot of ads when I really don't even have any clue what to do with the app first.
Too early to show ads, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Some of the screen as well. So I mean, by all means, serve ads, right? There's if you can get people engaged and they want to play, then absolutely they'll watch video ads. They'll give you much higher return stuff. But showing that ads that early into it, which is actually obscuring some of the navigation, is I think you should maybe think about rethinking that.
All right, Nikhil. All right, let's go with this, and then if you guys got any questions, please let us know in the comments as well. I've got see a lot of comments about other things. Okay, Nikhil, looks like FE prep, great. So it looks like an exam, engineering FE prep, study and review on the go. So Nikhil, you want to have certain keywords in here. If it's FE prep, I'm sure there's other fundamentals of engineering exam. There's probably, you might want to put that in there, or engineering exam as well, or FE exam, because those are probably going to be good keywords for you rather than study and review on the go. I always feel like when you're trying to put branded terms in the subtitle, it's not that important because the subtitle doesn't even show up that much in the search results. And so go after the keywords that you're going at, that you want to target, whether it's FE review, FE prep, FE exam, or the different types of exams. And then also think about what your target market, who are engineers, likely want to be engineers, what other keywords they might be thinking about. Because when it's a niche app like this, just like Rudy's app last week, you have to think outside the box or beyond what your normal keywords would be, and then what your target market might be searching for. So think about that too. And then I think what I would do is talk about, like, you know, the benefits. It is study and review on the go, right? Here this is perfect. Great screenshot, because you tell me exactly what the app does, 15 topics recovered. But then that's when you say, look, study on the go, you know, be better prepared, ace your exam, pass the exam. These are all benefits rather than features, which is, these are features. That's not benefits. Okay. Overall, I mean, it looks like you're getting good reviews. here. So let's take a look at your app real quick. Okay, so this is the opening page. So I want to see how he makes money. All right, so again, definitely watch last week's video. You'll learn a lot from it. What I typically see here is probably you're giving away too much content for free. And what we did with Rudy's app was we showed things, certain things locked. So go ahead and give away certain things, but make sure you lock up some stuff. And with Rudy's app, we showed on this main page which ones were locked and which ones were free, because this is where I see a problem with too with developers. They don't try to push their premium features enough. Look how many taps it took me just to get to it. And I was looking for it. It took me 1, 2, and so 2 taps. When you could easily, just by showing certain things are locked here, if I hit a locked one, that's 1 tap away from getting to your screen, right? So think about which ones you can lock up, which ones you can make for free. And then mathematics quiz. Okay, so this is good. Get it for free. I like the multiple options here. And we also did with Rudy's something to consider too. Forgot this person's name. Nikhil, is think about with the remove ads, like, are there banner ads? So, you know, he put banner ads at the very page right here to make it a little bit more disruptive. And so what we did there was we gave him multiple options. Do you want to remove banners? Do you want to unlock all the review, unlock all the quizzes, or just buy all of it for a certain price? And then your users can see where the real value is, rather than here, I'm just deciding yes or no. You can start feeling like when you give people options, they're more likely feeling like they're in control. And so that they will say, oh, well, this is way more value. Whereas here, I'm going to lose $5. Whereas if you show them options, again, check out that video, I'm more starting to figure out where I feel like I'm more control of my decision. And it's not about me losing $5, but me like gaining the best value. And so that's what happens from a psychological perspective. When you show people multiple options, they can start seeing where the value is versus this is either you want this or you don't want this. I'm either in or out. And those are some subtle changes we made in Rudy's app that you can easily apply to your app and start seeing higher revenue. Okay, cool. Great. All right, Martin, let's go into some of the questions that people might have had. Okay, here's one. Remove this. David asks, I have a question on Google Play. I noticed that even in non-English countries, English keywords have the highest search scores. Is it better to have an English description everywhere or still localize? Yeah, great question, David. So what we've done is if the English keyword has more traffic, use it, right? And we've been trying to, I'm going to put together a case study on this, but when we've localized for our clients, it's usually the English keyword or the more popular. So for example, meditation, whatever it might be in French, it is meditation and that French keyword. Maybe that French translation is the top one, but try to use both somehow. But I think it's always good to have some translation. And what we always recommend starting out with is the app name, the subtitle, and the keywords, and then move on to the description, because you can spend a lot of money on localizing and translating your app and not see a huge benefit. So it really depends on your app. So that's why we always say take it slow before you start really investing a lot of money, because I've had friends invest tens of thousands of dollars in localization and not seen a positive ROI outcome from it. So that's how you take it step by step. All right. Martin, I want to ask you this. What do you think about the new iOS 14 and the ad networks and the publishers, the IDFA? What are your thoughts?
To be honest, it's like there's so much around it now, and there's so many conflicting viewpoints. Like in terms of like our day-to-day business, we're a little bit kind of removed from it. So you could spend all day reading this stuff. Clearly, there's a kind of a jostling around of the big tech giants wrestling who gets what and whatever. But I think ultimately there's a healthy ads ecosystem. Advertising tremendously important part of the overall economy. And so no one's really disincentivized. Now, it might be one company wants more of the revenue than another and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, I think you'll people are smart. They figure creative ways around problems to allow them to still continue the direction of travel. there's going to be maybe a few bumps along the way and a bit of a bit of kind of clunky user experience for a little bit. But I think the trainers left the station, right? And there's a few different ways it can go and so on, but it's going to get to the destination one way or another. So sorry, that's a bit of a funny answer, but it's just seriously, I see so many of these things. I just don't have the mental.
I'm with you. No, I feel the same way. Demetrius says, will iOS 14 disrupt the ad network business?
Yeah, I think it will, but particularly the top guys in that space are very good at working around problems. So yeah, I'm sure there will be a little bit of disruption, then there'll be a new equilibrium.
Yeah, and that's why we love the app space, right? It's always changing. All right, David, he's tagging on what I gave him. The cost of localization is no issue for him, so that's good, David. He feels like having English keywords will be unnatural to say in a French description. So here's what I did, David, is put the French description, whatever it is, but let's say meditation, and then you put parentheses meditation. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like I don't think it's that, test it, right? Like I don't think it's not worth over analyzing for it. If there's search traffic, it's already telling you, the data is already telling you that people are using the English word too. And so they can probably read both. The data is already telling you they can probably read the English version too. So I wouldn't focus too much on that. All right. Gilgamesh asks, what do you think about the idea of the competition with prizes to promote an app? Any thoughts, Martin?
Let me just make sure I understand the question properly.
While you do that, I'm gonna, assuming that you want to like do some giveaways, and we've tried to do this with our clients, do giveaways on social media. I know giveaways work on YouTube and all this other stuff, and on social media, like follow us, tag us, and then you get a prize. I think it's interesting. I think if you've got a social media following, it's pretty interesting to do. I know one of my past clients and friends, he actually does this a lot on social media to grow his social media following. So if you're trying to grow a brand, then it's great to do that. If you're trying to just purely get downloads, I don't know if I'm sure there's better channels to do that rather than focusing on the prize. Because I've tried to test this with a couple of different apps where they do have a social media following, like 11,000 followers on Instagram. We're trying to do like a 1-year giveaway. I don't know if we saw a huge impact on downloads, but maybe the engagement and the social media following, you can get your users. So if you're trying to do that for branding purposes, go for it. I think it's worth a shot. If you're just doing it purely for downloads, I don't think it's worth your time. Okay. Calvin says, what are your thoughts on having a hard paywall for subscription apps? Calvin, if you're saying like either pay me or get out, and that's what you mean by hard, then I would say go for it. There's plenty of, long as your category talks about that. I've actually had a couple of different meditation apps where they've had a hard paywall, use our app or pay or get out, And so think about the category that you're in. If people are used to seeing it, one of our past clients, he has a robot call blocking app that I absolutely love. So go check it out, robot call blocker. But that's what he does. And he's seen good results there. So it really depends on the category of apps. But if you've seen other people in your space do it, do it. All right. All right, last question. So then we'll take it off. Flutterist asks, welcome back, Flutterist. Should we make localization for Canada, UK, and Australia too if there's another ranked keyword? Yeah, it all works. As long as, like I said, as long as you can do it affordably, I think you should do it. There's no downside to localizing your app. All right, guys. Well, Martin, thank you so much for coming on. The website is pollen.vc. Go check them out. Martin and I have been friends for a very long time, so I really love the company as well. The tool is linked up into the YouTube description. So if you're starting to see some growth, you want to start investing in some of that paid acquisition, use that tool, then you could really plan it out rather than just going blind and just spending a lot of money where Facebook and Apple and Google are all making the money. Martin, you want to send the users anything else, or you want to say anything else before we say goodbye?
I think that's it. I mean, if on Pollen.vc, that's the main link to the site and the calculator and stuff on there. So please feel free, use the tools. Hope you get some value from them, and then hopefully you get to that sort of that light bulb moment of the economics working. And just yeah, thanks a lot, Steve, for having me on the show. I think it's a really great format, and I'm going to tune in next week.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. Next week, we're going to have Tom from Theorem Reach back again. And so we're going to talk about roasting your apps. And so fill out that form at masters.com/audit. And then we're going to really focus more on that game side of things, on how you can better monetize your game. So if you got the games, we're going to try to focus more on the game side of things next Friday. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm humbled by everybody that does tune in every single week, and I'll see you guys next